Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Joseph Wafer. Here on my channel I talk about things like lighting and compositing and try and give you ideas and inspiration that you can use in your own pipeline. Today I'm going to be talking about how to make a volume atmospheric pass render out of Arnold, specifically in Maya, that you can use for compositing. Now, why would we want a pass specifically for the volumetric atmosphere as opposed to just rendering out a depth pass and using that in our comp? Well, there's a few reasons for a specific workflow that you might want to do this. And say you're using the atmospheric volume effect for Arnold in Maya, and say you're altering some settings here and there, right? So your base volume might look like this, but if you change some settings, say attenuation, maybe you boost the anisotropy, right, you get a completely different look. And this type of algorithm would be really hard to figure out how to replicate in compositing. And if you have something like this dialed in Maya, you may want to just be able to render out a path like this and use it in your compositing software. So I'm going to take you through how I do that. So the primary method that I use to go about doing this is that instead of having colored textures on all of our objects in our scene, we're simply going to make them completely black and then render it out. And we can use this rendered pass as a stencil within our comp or even a mask. So to do this, I'm going to go into our hypershader, which is what I'm using for making these textures. And let's look at our torus to begin with. If you see in our renderer, it is very textured, it is bumpy, and it has color. Well, to get rid of that, we're going to need something called a surface shader. And what this does is it makes the entire surface completely black, doesn't add any specularity or transmission or anything like that that we don't want. And so, if we select our object, go to our window, browser, and sometimes you'll notice if you make the shader before popping up the browser, it doesn't actually show up in the browser. So let's try and make it again. Surface shader. There it is. Select our object, hold right click, assign material to selection. It goes completely black. Now, you might notice some issues happened when we did that. It did turn completely black, exactly like we want. However, our displacement and our bumps are completely gone. So if we use a method like stenciling in comp for this, our silhouettes will be off and it could mess with some things. So we'll just need to do one more step in our node graph here, and we will need to apply our displacement, which is used in our shader, and we'll need to apply it to this surface shader we just made. Now, I already did that earlier here, so I'm just going to delete this, and I named it torus volume. And we're going to apply this torus volume shader to our torus that we have here. And if we open up our renderer, you'll see the displacement completely changed and it got bumpy again because it's using the exact same displacement that it had before. Now, if you have an object, like say this ship that I have in my scene, that doesn't have displacement, you can simply select that and you can apply just a surface shader. Again, it's very simple. You simply make this like this and you have both the nodes that you already need. And I named mine everything volume because I can put it on anything that doesn't have displacement, including this ship here. So select our ship, go to the everything volume, apply it, and boom, it's applied to our ship. Completely black there. And so I'm going to apply a surface shader to our terrain here as well. The exact same method, right? I made another surface shader here, named it terrain volume, and attached it to the displacement which I used on this terrain. And we'll click on it, named it terrain volume, we'll look for that here, assign to selection, and boom, that's black now. Okay, so now if we re-render, Now you can see that everything, all of our objects are all black, and now all you can see is the atmospheric volume in this render. Now, why do we have to do this? Well, if you go into the AOVs in the Arnold render settings, there's not actually a specific pass, an AOV pass, that you can render out specifically for the atmospheric volume. It only seems to work for other types of volumes that you import into your scene. So once you have all this done, you can batch render out your entire pass, and then we'll import it into the comp. Alright, so now that we have our atmospheric volume pass render that we were looking for, we'll be able to comp it. And stay tuned for part 2, where I'm going to go over different ways that you can comp this, and even go about changing the color of the atmospheric particles for your scene. I hope this video helped you solve a problem that you were having, or just gave you some inspiration or ideas for a project you're working on or that you might want to work on in the future.